Today, we're making scrunchies. You need a piece of fabric. It does not have to be huge. It just has to be small, like this one. He tiny, he's small. You need elastic. If you can't find elastic, there is a tutorial I will link that just uses a regular hair elastic that's already in a circle. But we're not going to do that kind today. Pins might help you. Straight pins. If you don't have them, that's fine. First thing you're going to do is take your fabric. There's a right side of the fabric and there is a wrong side of the fabric. They don't really look all that different right now, but you'll be able to know because the pattern that you have will look fainter on one side of the fabric than the other. Fold it in half lengthwise like that. See? And you want your wrong side to be facing you. Should probably have ironed this fabric. That's going to happen. If you want to at this point, use a couple pins to hold it in place for you to make your life easier later. You will thank yourself. Ideally, your edges will line up. Mine don't, and I don't care. Thread a needle. Here's my needle. Here's my thread. I wasn't quite level, so you're going to want to look and make sure you are. Put your needle in. Give yourself a little seam allowance there, which is what we say for the extra stuff at the top. And you come up through your fabric and go down through your fabric. And your thread will make like a little U shape. See, he's the letter U. It will go through. You're going to pull it the right way, not like me. And then there's an invisible stitch there. Isn't he pretty? Then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to go up. You don't want to go up right exactly where your stitch went down, because if you do that, then your stitch will just fall apart and it will go away. So give yourself some space. Come up. Go back down. And you're going to want to do that through the whole length of this fabric, all the way to the end like that. And I'm not going to make you watch it. So just go ahead and like hang out, and maybe we'll time lapse this if I can figure out how to do a time lapse. Maybe I can. So I've sewn now the length of my fabric rectangle. I have a tube, as you can see. When you get to the end, you started off probably with a knot. That's how I did, at least. Most of the time people do that. You're going to want to go back and forth a bit. Just kind of sew over the end a couple times in a couple different places, just to tie it off a little bit, or you can knot it. Like I'm just sewing over my last stitch. And I'm just repeating it a bunch of times. So I'm going up and down, up, and say I don't want to do that anymore. I can also just sew through those stitches a bit. What we're doing is securing it, and you can easily just tie a knot there. I just find that it's hard to tie a knot real close. So my tube is here. It's a nice tube, but I want a scrunchie, and that means I don't want the wrong side showing. I want the right side showing. So if you want, you can trim some of this excess fabric off. Just don't get too close to your stitches. And then you're going to turn this inside out. If your fabric is really skinny and you're having a hard time with this, you can get an unsharpened pencil, a knitting needle, a kitchen skewer, something that is long and pointy that can help push one end out. Basically, we are just turning our tube so that we can see the right side. And as you can see, you have your row of stitches right there, but you can't see them. You just see this nice line. And I'm going to do something called finger pressing, which just means I'm going over it with my thumb to help it lay a little flatter for me. But you can also iron it if you care. But clearly, since I didn't iron this to start with, I don't care. Hello, elastic. Now, if I was a lucky person or a smart person, I would have gotten to start with a safety pin. But I didn't do that. That's not in my little container here. And a better craft tutorial maker would go and find one, but I'm going to assume that you don't have one either. So take your Velcro, it's elastic, guys, it's elastic. Take your elastic, put it in the tube. If I had a safety pin at the end, it would be easy to grab the safety pin and tease it down the length of my tube. But since my tube is big enough that I can fit my finger through it, it's not really that big of a problem. Now, I'm going to tie a knot. If you need to help tying a knot, ask a grown-up. They usually know. You now have 2 unfinished ends and kind of a partial scrunchie. That's really cool, but not really wearable. So you're going to stick one tube part over the other tube part. And it's kind of annoying to do, but you got it. See? And then fold part of your tube. It helps you to line up where that seam was. So see, my seams are together and I folded a little to help it. Isn't that nice? It's beautiful. And now I'm going to do something called mattress stitch, which is a lot like what you just did, but not quite. I'm taking a little bit there, leaving my extra thread hanging off, and then I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. I'm going to link in the description box instructions for how to do this, because my camera doesn't get close enough for me to show you exactly what I'm doing here, and it's going to change your life. This little stitch right here is kind of what doctors do when they close up a cut or something. It brings the 2 sides of something together. Theirs is like more medically than mine, but essentially we're threading this like a shoelace. So you're going in through the eyes of your shoe, and then when we get to a certain place, we can tighten it, and then those stitches have vanished. Now, I didn't do a very good job lining that up, but in your hair, nobody's going to care. And you could watch me sew this entire thing up, or you could just read the description box link that I have that will show it to you with contrasting thread in a way that's going to be a little bit bigger for you to see. If I had like some kind of, I don't know, plastic eyelet lace stuff, I would show you in a big form, but I can't do that right now because all my supplies are at the library. So we're going to do that little sample tiny thing, but right now we're subbing it out because I have a completed one right here. That is what your scrunchie is going to look like. This one that I made here, part of, is a little floofier than this one is. But it all depends on what size your fabric is. And I will give you some dimension ideas for fabric pieces in the description box too. And you can use any fabric you have though. So if you don't have cotton fabric like this, use an old t-shirt. It's really easy to use an old t-shirt. So any scrap fabric that anybody has on hand you can use. And happy crafting.